location September 13th, 2016, and at 6 p.m. The purpose is to discuss the 2016-2017 millage rate and budget. The Destin Fire Control District State Taxing Authority proposes a millage rate of 1.0000, which is 4.26% greater than the rollback rate of 0.9591 mils. We'll open up to public comment concerning the millage rate. Seeing as there's none, we'll move on.
I move that we adopt the millage rate of 1.0000, which is 4.26% greater than the rollback rate of 0.9591 mils.
Second.
We have a motion, we have a second. Any further discussion? Call for the vote, all in favor? Ayes. The Destin Fire Control District proposes a budget of $6,055,045 for the 2016-2017 fiscal year, which is a 4.93% decrease from last year's budget. We'll open up public comment concerning the proposed budget.
Shane Stewart, 306 Provo Circle. The increase is basically just based off of the increase of property values, is that correct?
Yes, sir.
Okay. Is it okay to talk about the junior lifeguard program at this time, or should we wait?
I would, that's actually down the agenda
Okay.
a little bit.
Okay.
Good, hold on to that.
Sure.
Okay.
Are we able to address any of the issues on the budget?
With the
Here?
budget?
Yes.
Well, now, it's really public comment. I mean,
Oh.
it's like the same thing as supposedly we do at the other meetings, but, have you got just a comment, or have you got questions, or?
Well, I do have a couple questions. So, I mean, whenever we get to that part.
This is it, this is the time to do it.
Okay.
Okay.
That's good.
Ms. Wagner, I want to thank you for just adjusting down the holiday pay. There's a difference of $45,000 from $74,000 went down to $29,000.
Yes, that went down due to, just to let you know that, when we took a final look, we needed to make sure that the article for holiday pay did not adversely affect the pensionable wages of the firefighters. And by classifying the whole day as holiday, that is exactly what was happening. So, we made the adjustment, they're still being paid time and a half, but it's now categorized differently, so it doesn't affect pensionable wages.
Right. Now, when I sat in on negotiations, that was shown that the rate would drop, and the district had said that there would be an increase in the holiday pay. But during the course of the negotiation meeting, the union showed the district that it would actually go down, which it did. And at that time, the district agreed, Mr. Norton, the attorney, agreed that those monies would be given to the union employees. So my question is, with this $45,000 savings, is that gonna hold up? Is that promise gonna hold up?
I did not hear him say that, so I'd have to look at that. I'd
Yeah.
have to look at the meetings before I agree to that.
Yeah, Mike, I was here and heard that.
Yeah, I can't agree to it, so.
But that was the agreement that, at the time, they said that, you know, it will be agreed that that money will be put back into the employees. But if you can,
What does that mean?
Yeah.
Put back in wages?
well,
comp,
again, in wages.
Pension?
In the wages. I mean, I think this is a good point to talk to the union about. It's $45,000. Do we want to put it into their salary, or do we want to pay down the pension with it? I mean, any kind of little bit helps, you know?
You know, to the extent there was anything extra there, it went in to pay down the pension.
Well,
You were in the meeting where we did that. That's what I was asking. How,
Well, it was stated that that money would be divided amongst the firefighters, union employees at the time, in the meeting. You can listen to the tape on it. I mean,
But when I'm trying to put that together with a commission that says that we want an increase of 4%, we didn't say 4% plus $45,000.
Well, I'm just asking, is
We
that money?
didn't say 3%, we added a percent at 45, so I'm just having trouble tracking
Oh.
where that 45 came and went.
Well, that's why I'm asking, can we go back and verify that? I mean, that is what, Mr. Norton said, that money would be distributed into the pay of the
We'll
firefighters.
go back and look at it.
Okay, that's all I'm asking.
Okay.
I'd just like to know where the BP settlement money is budgeted. It was $25,000, and then I guess 33% of that money was a contingency fee. So it's about $16,675 in additional revenue.
That actually is not picked up in here. It was an oversight. And as far as I know, settlement has not been awarded at this time either. So it's not guaranteed that we're gonna get anything out of it. But
Therefore, you
there's no
can't add it,
revenue
you haven't got
recognition.
it.
Well,
If we haven't got it, we can't add it.
just a question.
Right, I understand.
I mean,
Good question.
I mean,
That's a good question.
I'm just asking questions. If I'm right, I'm right. If I'm wrong, I'm wrong. That's why I'm here to ask these questions. Maybe Chief, you could help me with this one. The district, I guess we have, the budget shows 80,000 for hiring employees. Now, are we gonna hire EMTs or paramedics? Is it,
That'll probably be based upon whatever we,
Whatever
whatever kind of
needs.
applications we get. I mean, if we get paramedics and those are the individuals who get hired, we'll hire those as EMTs. I mean, if we have no paramedics, we can't hire them, so, and a lot of that will be based upon, our practice and what we've run through. We've got a pretty, tough, physical agility test. We've had paramedics come before and couldn't get through that. We had firefighter EMTs make it through, so we hired those guys. So I think that's going to be dependent upon the group that we had that applies. But it obviously would be my intent to hire the most qualified, so that can do everything, pass the physical agility, do well in all the interviews and all that kind of stuff,
so it doesn't matter if they're paramedic qualified or just EMT?
Well, EMT is the minimum qualification, okay, so they'll have to be at least that. If they're paramedic, that's an additional feather in their cap.
My last thing is the district increased, their contributions to the pension, almost $32,000. And I was just wondering what the update on the pension regarding the state portion of the $336,000. I see now on the budget you have it at $225,000.
The budget was adjusted prior to, I think it was presented at our last meeting with that adjustment. And it was adjusted based off of the actuarial study done by Foster & Foster, where we asked what the impact was of the effect of the imposed pension article. The study was performed, however, the study was done with a worst-case scenario, because the actuary was working with the state actuary, the state of Florida actuary, so they could determine how the new House Bill 172 will apply specifically to our department and our plan. So that's why there was an adjustment presented at the last budget workshop for that item, and it was explained at that time as well.
I have one thing. I've been getting a lot of phone calls, and I would just like to get, hopefully, some clarification from somebody here. I just wanted to confirm the information we were told last week at the meeting, so I made a phone call and spoke to Sarah Carr, who's the benefits administrator for the municipal police officers and firefighters retirement fund today. And for some reason, the explanations between what we heard last week and what she gave me are pretty far apart. She told me the reason the funds were in question was that in 2012, a new tier was added to the pension at a 2.5 multiplier. When Article 46 was changed due to all 15 articles being imposed at the July impasse hearing with a 5-0 vote, it brought the multiplier down from 3.5 to 2.75, which without bringing the Tier 2 employees from a 2.5 to 2.75, which is the state minimum, this puts the pension plan out of compliance. And this is what Ms. Carr told me, okay? With that, she told me that the district would not be receiving any of the state funds of $350,000. I just wanna know, is the district stalling to draft a resolution from the impasse hearing with these changes and deliver it to, Ms. Carr at the state? And I also have a question regarding the fact that Lee Diener, and the pension attorney, has refused to write a letter. The pension is in compliance, so the district can receive those monies. And we have heard, and I've been getting calls about this, that there's gonna be a special meeting of pension trustees in order to terminate Lee Diener from the, pension, as a pension attorney. And I'm just asking, I don't know.
I don't know.
I'm asking.
These are questions you could ask the pension board, because we
Okay.
pretty much,
But, I mean, does the district know that because of that, you're not gonna get the $350,000?
well, at this time, I don't, that's the first I'd heard of it.
But you guys imposed the changes, right?
Pardon me?
You imposed the changes that caused us to lose state funding, correct?
We're saying we're losing state funding, we're saying we're not. So, you know, I mean, that's,
What?
you talked to Sarah Carr, I
Yes,
get
sir.
that, I know who Sarah Carr is. I haven't spoke to her, but I will.
Yeah, I talked to her
And I'll
today, Chief. I mean,
and I'll talk to her tomorrow.
I'm just asking. That's all I am.
I know,
I'm
I
just
get
trying
that.
to
But I get
verify
that,
some
but
facts.
what he's
No,
saying,
not
though,
only asking, but we're making statements.
Right, what
We're
he's
not
saying-
asking, we're making a statement and following up with a question, and then we're leaving the statement alone.
Right, what
So
he's
why don't we
saying-
make sure that that statement that we're going to lose funds, that's a statement, that's not a question.
Well, that's
And
what she
that-
told
and
me.
that- Well, you're saying that's what she said, so I'm saying I dispute that.
Okay,
So-
So-
well, Chief, well, maybe we can talk tomorrow if you talk with her.
You got it.
Okay?
So if it does cost the district $350,000 and they do lose state funding, is this still something that you guys wanna impose?
I don't think that's a fact.
This is not a question for, this is for the pension board, okay?
No, it's not a pension board question. You guys make the decisions about how these things are gonna change.
Yes, that decision was made by this board and then ratified
But with
by
all
the-
due respect, he asked a question, we disagree, he's gonna check tomorrow, so before we go any farther with it, why don't, let us check what the question was.
Okay, so at the next meeting, you guys will be able to say whether or not this is something you wish to impose? To lose that amount of money?
We'll
I
make
don't
it,
understand
we'll try
why
to
you're
make it
asking
right,
these
whatever it is.
questions.
Because there are two sides here, saying two different things. I understand you're gonna find the answer, I'm just saying, is that something that you'd be willing to do?
I think the easiest thing to do is let us find the answer first,
Okay.
and then we'll come back and discuss it.
Answer the question, okay, good.
Yes, sir.
George Gigante, 3836 Indian Trail, Georgia. I was looking at the budget under the proposal on page 3, under other, and on the transfer to asset fund. I was trying to figure out where that money comes from that goes into that.
The transfer of asset fund, you're referring to the $342,367?
Yeah, 30, right.
That is ad valorem taxes, which is transferred to an asset fund reserve, which was set up several years ago, based off of depreciation schedules to allow the district to replace, capital assets as needed without having a dramatic effect or drawdown on, individual budgets from year to year to year.
Okay, so this is a monthly expenditure, right?
That's
It's a non-cash expense.
Not good.
Okay, so that, in other words, these ad valorem taxes that are collected then that have been in the general fund can be transferred into this fund, is that correct? Okay, I had why wasn't the transfer of asset fund ever included into the audit, in the financial statements under expenditure?
It's not an expense.
Yeah.
We're not expending the money until you actually
Use it
purchase
until
the
you use
capital
it.
expenditure. It's an
It's an
internal
expense
transfer
thing.
from
It's
one
an
account.
expensive thing listed though, right?
It's listed on the budget because you have to show what you're doing with your monies that you receive. So it's a transfer from our general checking account. We receive ad valorem taxes into our general checking account, and it's a transfer of monies from that general checking account to the asset fund reserve.
Okay, so you expend that, then you don't, then it's,
I got
that's a statement, then that would be reported?
Yeah, first of all, that, I go through that every year with the audit partner, I mean, because that's kind of a favorite topic of mine. And the auditors go through and test, we keep a spreadsheet of every depreciable item, capital asset we have in this district. The original cost, the expected life, and we depreciate, because we consume that asset, just like we consume labor, as we pay by the hour. They go through that schedule every year, and if we were not a public company, but a private company, we would have an depreciation expense, non-cash expense, depreciation reserve that would accumulate, so that when we have to buy a new fire truck, we have the money. Nobody takes a pay cut the month we buy a fire truck. We still pay the light bill. Why? Because we have built up a substantial portion of that cost over the years that we consumed the prior asset. His reservation to us is you should do it on a replacement cost basis, not an original cost basis. In other words, that number is low. It's very conservative. It should be higher. We don't know what the replacement cost is gonna be, so we stick with the original cost for the equipment.
Okay, so the amortized portion of that thing is not generally included in any type of audit?
It is audited every year.
Okay.
It is, that specifically is audited every year.
Why is the beach safety commitments not listed under revenue, since they are committed amounts?
You wanna answer that?
They're not listed because they're not committed yet. Actually, neither of the two entities have had their budget workshops and their tentative workshop and their final workshop. Until they are, that's where they go. They're not guaranteed funds. The commission also decided several years ago that it wants to present the budget, that it wants to show the budget to the public as these are our ad valorem taxes, these are the funds that we get. This is what we're spending and this is what we're short. These are the other sources we have to go to get money to make a balanced budget. So that's also a reason for the presentation of it not being included up in the revenues, but it being shown down on the last page, on page 4, where you see other funds being received.
Okay, but they're not listed separately as like the city of Destin?
They are listed separately on page 4.
On page 4 there.
And it's not an accident that our sources for beach safety equal our uses for beach safety. That's the way we budget beach safety. So from the standpoint of the taxpayers and delivering tax to the district, it's not, all that goes for fire rescue. It gets a little jumbled up in how it gets presented. I agree.
Okay. I was just curious as how those funds are, put in there and actually not.
That's our shortfall that's made up by the other taxing authorities.
The last item I had was, in the last approved 15-16 fiscal year, there was $315,000 allocated in the transfer to asset fund. However, as of September 2016, the amount had changed to $509,000, about $194,000 increase. There was no information contained in the minutes or anything about the approval of that, or why it was increased, or.
You wanted to handle it? I mean,
Sure.
I mentioned
Yeah,
earlier
that
the
was-
difference between replacement cost and original cost.
Right.
And that hits you when you buy a new asset like an engine. Yeah, I'm serious.
Was that something that was addressed in the minutes?
Yeah, we approved the capital expenditure for the new equipment.
We approved the purchase of fire truck, and that's where that money went.
And then the procedure was followed. So, the old fire truck held a certain depreciable value on our asset schedule. So the asset, so those funds could be used towards the purchase of the asset, but there wasn't enough of the funds. So additional asset funds had to be used to make up that difference, which caused a shortfall. Our asset fund is set up to where it should never fall below 10% of what the depreciable schedule tells us it should be. And in a situation like we had last year where there was a very large capital expenditure, it fell below that 10%. So we had to contribute an additional 100 or 100,000 or whatever the exact dollar amount was. We had to make it up within that budget year.
That's done through the general fund into the asset transfer fund?
Yes, sir.
To create that.
Yes, sir.
Okay. Yes.
Thank you, Mr. Chairman. Darrell Shelton, 18 Noriega Road. I'm not here to argue one side of this or the other. I'll just make a point. During budget hearings for the city of Destin, after we got the trim notices, I went back and researched and actually called the property appraiser's office to find out how much of that increase. Now, I understand that the fire district and the Destin taxing district is two different things and cover two different areas. But it would appear to me that probably the increases that you received in taxable values would be very similar as far as a percentage. And when looking at the city of Destin, I found out that approximately 18% of that increase came from new construction being put on the books. The rest of it came from actual property values going up. And the point that I want to make is that 18% adds additional stress on the infrastructure. It's going to be more fire calls, more everything that you guys have to deal with. So you got to keep that in mind. That's not free money. You're taking on additional responsibilities, at least to that percentage, in my opinion.
And with that said, Darrell, that's why we got this asset fund. We want to make sure that we have it if we need it. Look, last year we went and bought a brand new 400, give or take $70,000 truck. We can do it again tomorrow if we need to. So as it gets building, we're gonna make sure we have what they need. The guys will have the tools, every tool they need to do that job.
Yes, ma'am.
Yes, ma'am.
How is the TDC contribution calculated? Who determines that amount?
They do.
Yeah.
Say that.
I would like to say.
Great big dark hole right
I
there.
mean, do you go there and ask them
Oh,
for
yes.
a certain
Oh, yes.
amount?
Oh,
Or
yes.
is there
Been there and
any-
done that.
It's kind of like a bag.
Well, we just see all the misuse of funds with the TDD and, which I think is what they're called now.
Yes,
They
ma'am.
change their name every time they have a bad publicity stunt.
They
But,
need your name for the record.
oh, I'm sorry, Karen Shelton, 18 Noriega Road.
Thank you.
If they just seem to have so much money, a surplus of money to spend on all these other things, and I would like to see if we maybe could not ask for more money from them.
I'm with you.
Yeah.
I'll give you a
Course they
good
exist
example of
now.
this. So, this year we went to them to ask again, the chief went, I have gone before, to ask for big safety money to make sure we get a share of that, which they give to Oakland Island too. And in that being said, Oakland Island was gonna get more than what we did, where in the past they said, no, we get the same thing. And now they've come up with, they're gonna give us actually what they're gonna give Oakland Island, even though they protect 2 miles of beach and we've got 6 miles of beach, and we also do the pass and we also do Crab Island, which they don't do, but we get the same amount of money. But Kelly Wines and who was the other commissioner?
Yeah, it wasn't, it was,
They were wanting the TDC to set up a matrix to figure this funding, okay? They've never done it in the past, they just arbitrarily, whatever they wanted to give us, that's what they gave us. We asked for it, and they might not. But they're supposed to be establishing some kind of matrix to figure out how to distribute this money in the coming years. So, which I would think would be good, because if you figured in that we cover 6 miles of beach, they cover 2, we do Crab Island, we do these paths, you would think we would get more funding than what they would. And 80% of the TDC money comes out of Destin, not Oakland
That's what I
Island.
was gonna
So,
say. We probably
you know, and
contribute.
it's trying to be fair
do.
about
We're
it.
trying to get it.
We're not trying to get everything. We will share with them, yeah, but at the same time, be fair with us, because we cover 2.5
That's
million
what we're
residents, and they do a million.
It would be most helpful and appreciated if you and 700 of your closest friends
Yes.
go to the Oklahoma County Commission and share your view.
If I had 700 friends, I'd be at the TDD at the next
Yes, sir.
meeting.
John Harvey, 4327 Reserve Place. One thing that the board needs, and I know you're aware of, but the citizens need to be aware of, is that the sheriff's department is also in competition for that TDD money now. And also, the city of Destin is gonna give them $42,000 again for spring break. And I understand they're gonna give them $75,000 for, a
Patrol boat.
patrol boat. So now they're gonna receive 17,000 more from the city than the district. and the district has gotten $100,000 for the last 10 years or so from the city. And, you know, our cost, the city's, the fire district's cost has gone up over 10 years. Calls have gone up, everything's gone up. You know, I don't know why we haven't gone back to the city and say, hey.
We have. The last couple of years, they told us that that's it. Matter of fact, they even talked about taking it away from us. They did.
You know.
They did, John. We
I-
tried. And I've been one of them that's pushed hard. And they've told us that be thankful because this is all we're gonna give you. It's gonna get to the point we're gonna take it away and y'all go to TDC yourself. And we can't beg them anymore. But it would be nice, 700 people to go there and support us, because we're trying.
But I mean, I'm just saying, that, I mean, the sheriff's department is now very aggressive at all these meetings.
And so are we. We tried to, John. We have.
And John, I'd remind you too, take the beach over here, sources and uses, everything else over there. So the number of calls we make with fire rescue has nothing to do with beach or vice versa.
Yeah, no, but what I'm saying is, I'm sure during spring break or whatever, if the sheriff's office feels that, you know, hey, we need these additional funds, you know, we're responding to calls for fights and guys broken bones and stuff like that, right? I mean, I would think, Chief, our calls go up during spring break time.
Of course.
Yeah, absolutely.
You know, I mean, so I would think that, you know, this city has to realize that for the fire district.
I hope you understand that we do try. We don't sit up here and not try to go get more, John. We do. We do. And I tried myself very hard, but we're counting.
You know,
That's all we're getting.
that's why, Mike, I've always stressed that the board ought to be a liaison to every different, somebody assigned to the city, you know, the city council, somebody assigned to the TDC with the chief, Okaloosa County, you know, just letting those folks know what's going on around here. Because a lot of people don't know.
If they come to this meeting and ask a question, we'll answer it.
I'm gonna address the tourism development, because I've dealt with it. Tourism development dollars,
State your name and
Tracy
address.
McCraw, 410 Ridgewood Circle. The tourism development dollars by law are to go to tourism. How the tourism and development spends that money is decided by commissioners. By law, that money is supposed to be, most of it is supposed to be spent out of county, because tourists are already here. They say the tourism dollars and bed taxes go out of county. Some of these are pet projects that have been brought in by the commissioners and by past directors that are no longer with us, like painting water towers, should not have been a part of the TDC budget, but you get people to throw things in because it's politics. You want more money? You've got to play the political game. You got to get in there and you got to fight and scrap, and it's hard for a board of commissioners to do that because they're considered a public entity. You want it? Like he said, 700 people need to go over there, and then they're going to tell you that this is for tourism. Then you got to get into that budget and work your way into it. And there are so many people that are trying to get into that budget, and they don't. Is it a sham? Yes, it is. It's a political game.
But the thing that they have to realize over there is that the money that they're giving these gentlemen here is to protect those tourists out there on that beach.
And that is your marketing perception that you see, because what is talked about? Police arresting citizens or visitors to the coast. Nobody's out there talking about a fireman having to go take care of them. So that's one thing that we as a public should push out there. These guys work just as hard during spring break as the sheriffs do, but the perception is that they're out arresting drunks and trying to keep these drunks off our street, and that's where it comes from. These guys are having to rescue the drunks when they get screwed up. So, so we got to get, but that, again, the commission cannot do that because they just go make presentations. We as the public, that's our job. We gotta go out and fight for this. We gotta tell people where they need to put that money. The TDD does not operate like, it doesn't even operate like other TDDs. It operates like Okaloosa County. You were talking about money being misspent. You know that the city of Baker gets funds from the TDD. Do they have tourism there? No. But the county commissioners split things up so that everybody in the commission, anybody in the county gets the money, and then they get re-voted back in. So that's how it works. You wanna stop that process? Go to the commissioners and stop them from doing it and tell them where you want that money to be spent. Then it gets done. And then instead of painting water towers, they're taking care of these guys.
Well, they're supposed to give so much now, if I'm not mistaken, to public safety.
Yeah. And then the
And they don't
commissioners
even,
decide
they
how
don't
they
even
divide it
calculate
up.
that right.
Yeah.
No, they did.
So that's where
Yeah.
the district got.
Now, I'll tell you what, I've been in a meeting where I've seen Tommy fight tooth and nail trying to get money for lifeguards over in this county, over here on these beaches. And I've seen what happens. They don't listen. You know who they listen to? Voters. That's who they listen to. They don't listen to these guys.
Well,
Yeah.
y'all get me 700 friends.
Look, and the county commission does need that. I'm sorry, I'm on a pedestal. They need that. We as citizens need to go and make sure they're spending our money where they should be spending it. So,
I agree, I didn't
so
mean
what?
to step
Sorry.
Only one question.
Okay.
Shane Stewart, 306 Colonel Circle. The estimated safer grant, what if the safer grant is not awarded?
It's.
Is just a reduction of the 340, or the 240, or is it everything else that's
We don't take out revenue, and, you know, within our budget, when we have to do any budget adjustments, we do them within savings in which we have. But if it's not there, we're not gonna hire, so we're not gonna expend those funds. We're not gonna have additional insurance or incentives or wages for those items. But we don't remove large chunks like that. We keep the budget intact and we make, budget adjustments, to shift, funds, like we actually have a budget adjustment to go to when we get back to our regular meeting, which would be a great example of that.
Okay, so I mean, if it's not there, but you've already put into the budget those three
Yeah,
positions.
Yes.
we can't increase, as you know, we can't increase our budget once this, we
Right.
set it. So if we have received a grant, we would not be able to spend the grant or hire the people because we can't increase our budget. So it's, we prepare for it, plan for it. If it's there, then we can do it. If it's not, then we just.
So of the 240, 454, that's split up between all of the lines, is that correct? Or is there district money in some of that?
No, that's not district money. That, the 240, it actually costs a little bit more than that. There are certain, non-reimbursable expenditures, not a lot. I think it totaled around 14,000, that we actually reimbursed for. So those expenditures would be down, you know, in their appropriate category.
Where is the current safer grant
On.
calendar right now? No, where are they in the grant process?
They haven't released it yet.
Well, we're hoping we will.
Okay, so. The other thing, it's in the budget somewhere, Tommy, this junior lifeguard thing, is that?
We're about to go to that.
Okay.
We're gonna have this discussion.
If there's no more public comments right now, I can get into the budget and where we're at.
Okay, let's go.
Okay, so at the last budget workshop, there were a few items that the commission discussed, which were changed for, and presented in this tentative budget hearing, which was posted online, the public has, the commissioners have in their package. The first was, discussion on, Crab Island. And should that be funded by the district? Should we attempt to get it into beach safety? Since the TDD did increase the funding when Chief Sasser went before them to ask to match what they were giving to Okaloosa, we could use that additional funding, and we made some other modifications to the beach safety budget to where we could get the, basically the full cost. And we got all of the personnel, but the fuel for the boat is remaining under the fire department side, not the beach safety side. Kind of gives some skin in the game, you know, to go to the future and say, look, we've reduced our manning out on the beach. We've had to restructure and reorganize because this area needs to be covered. You know, we feel that they should pay for it, but, you know, so it kind of gives us a little skin in the game to leave that money within our budget. So that was the first item that was changed and is presented. The second item was, Mr. Harvey asked it during the regular commissioners meeting, was the holiday pay. And an adjustment was made to move funds from wages holiday into wages 175, I believe it's categorized. wages hourly, sorry, it's called wages hourly. And again, as I stated before, that was so when employees, are paid, when pensionable employees are paid, their pensionable wages don't go down. Holiday pay is not a pensionable wage item, and it was never the intent to change their pensionable wages. So that was adjusted. So that is the budget that, is in detail, is in broken down by fund, that's before you. It is a break-even budget. No funds are being pulled from unassigned funds. It is utilizing a full, 1.0 millage rate factor. It includes the addition of 5 firefighters, to add 2 back to the shifts to level out our shifts immediately, and then hopefully if the SAFER grant is awarded, to pick up an additional. It includes the addition of a part-time personnel, for office administration that was, previously approved by the board. Now, so that's before you. We've also, if you look about, if you go to this, worksheet here, which is the junior lifeguard program. You need to talk about this one?
Yeah, I'll take it, sorry.
Next question, we go there? Because I can't pull it out of the way that it's aggregated in the accounts here, but do we end up paying down any of our unfunded pension liability?
Yes, well, a small portion.
Right.
Since we don't know what's, the final outcome of the pension is to be. There was approximately, 36,000.
Right.
Of excess revenues over expenditures that was put into the, pension fund to pay down the 175.
And we've taken the most conservative approach on pension funding, expecting the worst outcome, et cetera, right? So if we land more toward the middle ground, there's gonna be excess dollars there, which I would hope would continue to pay down the pension fund, so you get more than 30-some thousand out there.
Correct.
We've got a long ways to go.
Now, would the worst, absolute worst case scenario be on here? No. If the state actuary determines whatever they're gonna determine, and if we don't get any state funding, you'll see on the first page, of this where we have a district contribution of 1 million and a state contribution of 225. They could withhold that 225 and we would have to pick it up. We're required to pay the full amount. So it's in here as a budget. The commission would either have to find savings throughout the year to pay for that, or pull from reserves to do so.
Okay. Thank you.
In reference to the, junior lifeguard, program and incorporating that into our budget, one of the,
Directors, board of directors.
Yeah. One of the, foundation's board members, approached me about the district possibly taking on the junior lifeguard. We've always thought of the junior lifeguard program as ours, that's the district's anyway. We've always spoken of it in that vein, but it's always gone through the foundation. And, I guess there's been some changes there, and, I was approached about possibly taking it on. I have no problem taking it on. I discussed with Kathy those additional, responsibilities and duties and that kind of thing. So, we do believe we can cover it. Whether we do or don't, they'll have to make that decision, and they haven't yet, but we have to prepare, that contingency for that if that's what we're going to take on. We can always back off of that, but once we go through this process, just like with the SAFER grant, if we don't prepare for it, we can't take it on.
Right.
So what we're putting in front of the board is, if we were to take it on, this is how it would be. If, they don't approach us later and they change their minds and don't want to take it on, don't harm or foul, we don't, and that's it, you gotta leave this back, no problem. And if we do take it on for the board's consideration, we ask the board to consider this, it's gonna be, net zero for us, it's, no expense to the district, other than our time of our employees, but our time, employees have been volunteering a lot of their time as well, anyway, for the program, so.
Would we account for this as part of beach safety?
Yes, sir.
Okay, so we put it in the ring fence, it's more than self-funding today.
Yes, it
So
is.
there's really no net financial impact. safety over here. That also buttresses other arguments that we make for funds.
And then one of the other considerations is my discussion with Joe, about, other, funding that occurs at, the Okaloosa Island Beach Program, or the county beach program, as well as South Point Beach Program. There are TDC funds that they're able to garner to help to offset some of those costs of the parents. So, by us taking it on, being a government entity, I think we would be able to maybe take the same push for maybe to provide some funds to help offset those parents' costs. I don't know that they would do that with the foundation, but with the government entity, they're already providing us with funds, so maybe we should get them to provide us some additional funds to help offset our parents' costs. That would be a hope, but even if it doesn't, it would be a net zero, not an expense to us. So just asking the board to consider it, and prepare for that contingency. If they come to us and say, yes, we really want you to do that, then we will. If they don't, then we don't.
Yeah, Mr. Chairman, I move that we adopt a proposed budget as amended of $6,116,692 for the 2016-17 fiscal year, based on taxable value of real property totaling $5,357,319,954.
You second once ago. Okay. Any further discussion?
Can I ask a question real quick before you approve that? Just for clarification. Catherine, you said that, the SAFER grant, that was put in the budget just because you can't go back and change it if you don't receive it, correct? So would you not wanna do the same thing with the BP money? Go ahead and put it in there? I mean, it's kind of the same thing, just to cover yourself. I mean, you can always take it back out.
Wait 4 years for that BP money. There's just no guarantee on that at all.
I know,
That's
but
I know, I understand.
I'm just
There's
saying.
no guarantee on the SAFER grant.
No, I
Yeah,
agree.
so I just don't understand why you wouldn't, go ahead and put that in there. I mean, I know it's only supposedly $16,000, but $16,000, especially if there's a shortfall coming from something else, would definitely.
I mean, it's a small amount would be my view, and it's uncertain as to timing and amount, actually. We don't know that we're gonna get that. If it was 600,000, I'd worry about a lot more. I would just let it sit. If it shows up, it shows up. It'll get dropped in as revenue and end up in the general fund, and we'll do it through our budget adjustment. We use it, or if it's left over, it goes to help fund the pension. So it's worth it.
Okay. We got a motion, we got a second. Any further discussion? Call for the vote, all in favor? Unanimous?
Mr. Chair.
We're gonna open up to public
Mr. Chair.
comments. Member of the public may address the board concerning items, may not address the board concerning items that are not on the agenda.
And we're still on the budget meeting, right?
Yeah, okay.
Mr. Chair.
Yes.
Okay, on the junior lifeguard program, is the 120 participants maximum, is that a pretty fair number? Do they
Yes,
have at
very-
least that
very
every year?
fair.
Yes.
This year's 100, this past year.
Okay. So you're looking at, what if we don't make the maximum participants?
The break-even point is 100 participants. We've had over 100 participants for the past 4 years, I believe it's the past 4 years. And prior to that, the reason we did not have, we had like 78 participants the year before is because our program was capped at like 75. So as soon as we opened the cap, we immediately had a waiting list, and we've always been able to hit. But the break-even for this program is 100 participants.
Okay, so the 63,000 is based on 120 or 100?
120. That's why it shows an excess for the program.
I worry about playing with numbers, because figures lie, liars figure. So I'm well worried that if we don't have, or we have a bad year as far as storms for the summer, do we not make this amount? And therefore, we're responsible for it. I'm for the program, I think it's great, I have no
We'd
qualms
be
about it.
responsible for it only if we didn't adjust to the fact that we didn't have the number of people sign up that we thought.
Right.
And my assumption is if we get 80, then we're gonna go adjust the cost of the program.
Exactly.
That's yet another reason to keep it in the
If
service.
that's the understanding,
Things go down.
if that's the understanding, then, like I said, if that's based on that, it probably should be noted somewhere that that's how it's going to work.
you got instructor's costs that's there that are based on facts, 120.
Right.
But at the same time, the instructor costs are gonna go down if you only have 100.
Right, so what would be in that program, what would be something that would be hard and fast?
I'm sorry, I
Supplies,
didn't hear you.
what would be hard and fast? Supplies, insurance, is that based on the amount of people, or is it based on a solid number?
That would be a fixed cost.
All right, field trips and competitions, is that gonna be based as a,
Per participant,
okay, drug and background tests, I guess that'd be per participant.
yes,
Workers' comp.
Per instructor.
Per instructor. Workers' comp per
based
instructor.
off of wages.
Wages. And again, it's the same thing, your budget a little high because we can't increase that budget.
Okay, the date and time for the final budget hearing, September the 21st, which is next Wednesday, 2016 at 5:30 p.m. Everything that's ever said,